So yeah, good afternoon everyone. BHI Limited, we were formed in 2002. I'm an engineer myself and came out of a job and worked with a high-tech company and ended up setting up BHI. Just a few more. Let them take their seats. There we go. So DSP noise cancelling and noise cancelling generally. So there we go. 2002, we had our first speaker launched in June at one of these amateur radio fairs in the UK. And we now sell worldwide through a whole network of dealers. And over the years, since 2002, 50% of the turnover is now like a commercial side of the business where the noise cancelling's used. So we'll get on to noise cancelling, just to give you an idea. You all know probably about active noise reduction, you know, the headsets you can get. That's sort of sometimes confused with what we do in our products, but we do sell these type of noise cancelling headphones. And effectively you have a headset on your head and inside are microphones. Now these microphones are picking up the ambient noise from around you, especially when you're in an aircraft or you're travelling on a train or in just a noisy hubbub of an area. They're very useful. And what happens is the electronics inside will anti-phase the noise and then pass it through the actual audio you're listening to, say a video or listening to music on a plane, and so it will nullify the noise that's already being picked up and make your listening or video experience much better. And you can notice that when you're on the plane, you click the noise cancelling on and off, you hear that shh, and then it goes. So that's sort of one type of noise cancelling. There is another noise cancelling you've probably all heard of over the years with tape machines, Dolby, and I think Dolby's still around now. They do it slightly differently by sort of companding and expanding the band so that when you play the music back, they cut out the noise that way. So the noise cancelling that BHI does is quite clever. We had some special software, and it's able to identify the speech amplitude on speech signals. So when a signal's going into the DSP noise cancelling, it can pick out these modulated waveforms and store them, and they're stored in frequency bins. What that means then is all that speech is being passed through the passband, but you decide how much noise passes through, so it's slightly different to other noise cancelling techniques. So the speech is all passing through, and if you have a lot of noise, you can then set the filter level high up to almost 40 dB to remove the bulk of the noise and still lift that speech out of the noise. It's quite clever in as much as because of how it works, even with very high noise levels and the speech is just above that noise floor, the speech still sounds quite real, you know, not too distorted. You do get musical tones, artifacts you've probably heard with some noise. You do get that with these type of situations sometimes. And in that case, you can either back off the noise cancelling or just decide that if you had no noise cancelling, you wouldn't hear the speech. So you put up with those sort of tones. It works on all types of audio because of how it works. So it's not frequency dependent. So over the years, that's why the technology has led itself to being used in commercial applications that you'll see on the later slides. So the first product we ever came up with is this very small DSP noise cancelling speaker. It's got 5 watts of audio, 8 levels of filtering with a switch at the back. We've got all these products on our booth, so you can come and have a little pick up and a hands-free play with them, and we have some sound files. Now the idea of this one for the sort of market a lot of you guys are in is it's going to connect straight into the extension speaker socket of your radio or the headphone socket, 12 volts DC, and basically you then got your noise cancelling. So if you've got customers that have got your radios that are moaning or struggling to listen to the speech, maybe mobile, then this speaker will be sitting there, a truck or car, connect it up, and they'll be able to suddenly hear the speech a lot clearer. May even be a bit safer for them driving because they don't have to concentrate on the speech, and they can hear it clearly while they're driving. So yeah, we had sort of 4 different versions. This latest one has got the latest DSP noise cancelling, which is slightly better than the chip we had before a few years ago. So moving on from that, we then developed a base station speaker, which is about that big, and it's just got a 10 watts audio. We added some extra features like line-in, headphone socket, weighs just under 2 kilos, and that's quite nice for a base station application. Then we moved on to some inline units. So these are quite interesting because they take advantage of what we call the dual channel noise cancelling. So with our DSP chip, you're able to have 2 separate channels. So, I mean, in a lot of cases of the CB amateur radio stations, it's mono. You're connecting to a mono speaker output. But if you do have some guys that have, shortwave listening radios, or they've got stereo or even 2 radios, you can literally stick 2 radios in via a cable and 2 radios out, so they can monitor different channels and different stations with this type of product. All the inline units we have are mainly sort of designed for using with an extension speaker. This dual inline one has line in, line out, audio in, separate 7-watt mono amplifier, and also a separate headphone amplifier. So it's quite a flexible unit. If several people are trying to listen to the same audio, you could have someone listening on headphones, someone on a speaker, and almost a third person on the line out with a pair of headphones. Again, 12 volts DC, although the operating range is around 10 to 16, so that does allow for sort of battery usage sometimes. Excuse me. So this is a little compact unit, which is about the size, sort of very small unit. This unit we developed because people wanted a bit of portability. It has the same noise cancelling in, but the design is used with like rotary encoders, so they're not potentiometers. So we've used a very simple but effective operation where you can press the switches and rotate the controls to get the noise cancelling to suit. Now you've got, over the reverse, access to a battery housing for 2 AA batteries, so it quite easily will sit in your pocket and you can take it anywhere you like. And mainly designed for headphone use, although you could drive a few 100 milliwatt speaker. If you're in a quiet room somewhere, you can use that. But we sell quite a lot of these into the shortwave listening market and receiver people because they can just literally take it anywhere. It's very lightweight. And then quite recently we had a few instances of people wanting, is there another one? Oh, let's go back. It's only the one picture, sorry. This is another little inline unit that basically is just a mono unit. So it's literally speaker, extension speaker in, speaker out. It's got a headphone socket, but it's very useful for someone that maybe have an amateur station and one of the big Kenwood, Yaesu, Icon speakers, and they just stick this on the top. And they can make their speaker into a noise cancelling speaker, quite simple, really. Then we, the top of the range product that we've been selling quite well recently, and is it's quite an interesting story. We wanted to develop audio with tone control. As you know, a lot of radios, older radios, didn't give you that option. The audio was what the audio was from the amplifier. So we spoke to someone and said, I want to fit a tone control. And this gentleman, he was what I call a boffin. He said, you don't want to do that, you want a parametric equaliser. And I thought, what's a parametric equaliser? Anyway, it turns out that he was right. And so we're moving on. We developed this unit. And what it allows you to do is, as well as having the noise cancelling that I was telling you about, you can move the centre frequency of any of the audios between 100 hertz to 10K to suit your hearing. So in the amateur radio market, there are a lot of people, a bit like myself, I've got a little bit of hearing loss at higher frequency. So for me, you can literally set that up to the frequency loss I have, and then at the bottom there are these two, the blue and the yellow buttons. You can boost the frequency to plus or minus 10 dB. Not only for improving and lifting speech, sometimes in radio you have a tone that's just next to the speech and it's really some sort of notched tone you don't like. You can use this unit to move to that specific frequency and attenuate it, and then suddenly the speech is going to lift itself out of that signal. So this one is selling quite well into that sort of market. It has two separate inputs on the back, so you can have two radios. And yes, again, you have to use it with your own loudspeakers, two separate speakers. There we go. So one of the questions we got asked when we first started doing this was, well, I don't want an external unit. I want something to fit in my radio. Back in 2003, there was an old transceiver that some of you may know called the Yaesu FT817. Everyone had one, millions of them sold. And some amateur said he wanted a module, so we developed a module. And so this module here literally fits inside the transceiver. It's got a little push button and it goes in the low-level audio, and you can basically turn your transceiver into a DSP noise cancelling radio with this unit. But what happened after that was many amateurs and sort of shortwave listeners have taken the module and built it into their own radio. There is a version without wires, and that one is used commercially by a number of companies that we sell to around the world for weighing station intercom systems, and it just sits nicely in the low-level audio. And for you guys, if you have customers in those markets, potentially the volumes could be quite good if it goes into a design retrospectively. We also then did another module, which was an amplified module, again for the same reason. Some guy, amateur, had spent £300 on a Yaesu or Icon fantastic matching speaker. Of course, you open it, it's like there's not a lot in there but a speaker. So we then developed this module that comes with a complete kit that you can open, fit inside in line with the speaker, and then you suddenly turn your extension speaker into a DSP noise cancelling speaker, and that's proving quite popular for customers to do. And when I say the kit, it literally comes with mounting pads, it comes with all the instructions, tie wrap, everything. So and it's pretty straightforward install really, because you're just cutting the wires in between the speaker input and the speaker inside the speaker, and there it sits. There's a 12-volt socket that you would drill a hole and fit at the back, but it looks quite neat, the install. Bit like that. There we go. That's sort of inside of a speaker. You can see the speaker there, the module in the middle, and then the keyboard's fitted on the lid we've laid to the side. We have professional labels as well, so that when you put the lid back on, the nice labels don't ruin the style of the speaker. On the sort of amateur radio side also, we've developed a few little accessories that go with our products. So, you know, some of the guys like to run 3, 4, 5, 6 radios. So we've got like little switch boxes that the customer can connect his one BHI unit and then all his radios in and just switch depending what he wants to do. We've got some audio isolation transformers, because you're probably aware that some of the times when these people buy radios, they're in a flat or they don't set up their antenna properly, press the transmit, oh, well, I've got RF, can hear my voice, your product's rubbish. And no, it's not rubbish, your antenna's not quite set up properly. So we try our best to sort of guide people in the correct way to run earth leads, best practice. But anyway, one of the reasons we came up with this thing called the Groundbreaker. It's very simple. It's an audio isolation transformer in a box, but it's rated correctly. So in between the radio and our product, it breaks the earth ground loop or the RF, so they don't get their problem anymore and they can carry on using the noise cancelling. Because what happens, once they start using the noise cancelling, they love it, but then when they get the issue, you know, they don't really want to give you back the speaker because it's got a problem for them, but they want a solution, so they're quite happy when you actually can sell them a little isolation transformer and then I've got my speaker back. So the headphones, yeah, these are just standard off-the-shelf headphones, quite low cost, but work really well, that we sourced ourselves. One's a pair of noise cancelling headphones that you can get from Pete, and the other ones are just standard comms headphones, but they're quite low cost, sort of less than €25 or something like that retail. So applications, let's flick through those so you can read them all. So we're talking about amateur radio, shortwave listening, scanners, CB radio, and just a whole range of comms. With scanners and CB radios, one of the things over the years we sort of found is, because I had myself back in, dare I tell you the year, 78, I had an AM CB radio, a realistic, and of course you're flicking through the channels. When you connect our noise cancelling and leave it on, you get this so every time you change a channel, it's trying to get rid of the noise. And it can be quite a little irritating. That's the feedback we've had. So what we always say with scanner use and CB radio is don't switch the noise cancelling on until you've found someone that you're listening to. Then you switch it in, and then you can hear, the noise of that person. At the moment, we're developing some marine products. We've got a marine waterproof noise cancelling speaker that will be out relatively soon. Because we did some work with what we call our National Coast Guard, and we lent them some product for their base station. And even though it's VHF and not that noisy, they found that all the users at the stations listening to the calls from the sea were finding that using the noise cancelling made it easier and less stressful, especially when someone was at distance calling the station. So that's a market we're going to sort of move our noise cancelling into. So here's some testimonials. I was going to put up one that someone said, best thing since sliced bread, but what can I say? And one of the big ones we always get for some of the older amateur radio guys, and it's a bit embarrassing really, because they say, they stand there with their mates and they say, oh, have you got one to get rid of the noise of my partner? And I'm thinking, no, sorry. So yeah, we have great reviews from customers. So bearing in mind that I don't want to take you too long, one of the things we moved into was noise cancelling medical intercom systems. And it comes back to about 2008. So we work with a company in America called Avera, and we actually sell a noise cancelling intercom for breast cancer and cancer treatment machines. And basically, our system, there's a big speaker at the back inside the hole there. And what happens is because the machines are so noisy, the nurse stations, they're able to hear what's being said. So that's quite a big market for us. We just have a relationship with them, and we've started selling into our own health market in the UK now. We're getting calls from the NHS and they're just buying the intercom from us. So that's like a commercial product that could be of interest. Now, the other thing that may be of interest, what I mentioned right at the beginning, is we have these circuit boards that we sell, and these are the ones that can be fitted inside radios, and intercoms very easily, really, because of how we design them, and they've proved quite popular. Finally, going on to some of the commercial projects. So we've got those modules are fitted in air traffic control for Spanish air traffic control. Just got an order going out this week for them. 24-hour Le Mans, picture car radio comms. We've got customers with those in a few places. We're talking to someone who's got comms for microlight and light aircraft. We're trying to come up with a little gadget that will go in between the mic and the radio. In America, weighing station, big trucks turn up, person in the hut can't hear what's being said, so our noise cancelling's on the mic path there. And then there's other medical scanner applications. So, thank you for listening. I hope I've imparted some information about us, and any questions? Well, if there's no questions, come over to our booth and see us for a live demo. We've got one with headphones, you can have a listen to how good it is, and we've got a speaker demo, so yeah, Be good to see you. Thank you.